Hey, what's up, guys? It's the F1 cast. We got three industry veterans here. We got the inside knowledge on Formula One, and today we're going to kind of give our first pod, going over some of the inside scoops, giving some deets on the race, and maybe some post race stuff. What's going to happen next? You got me here, Dylan. You got Wes, Seattle, and we're going to let you know what's going on in Formula One this week. Seattle, over to you.
Hey, this is Seattle or Joseph. Let's just talk about first who I am. I've watched Formula One for the past 2 seasons now. Big Red Bull fan. Yeah, that's about it. I love Red Bull, but I'm unbiased. Just love watching a good race over the U.S.
Yeah, my name is Wes. Been a long time F1 fan, several years now. Um, and I like rooting for the underdogs. It's not fun. I hated watching Lewis Hamilton win for 4 years in a row. Fuck that guy. Um, but I like repping some of this. I like seeing the comebacks. I like seeing the underdogs get some wins. But of course, we're keeping it unbiased and keeping it strictly factual over here.
Yeah, keeping straight to the facts. I mean, you said not a fan of Hamilton. Maybe speak to that a little bit. Like, you just don't like seeing the same guy win a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the happiest I've ever been in life was when Verstappen pulled it out and won last year, and just watching how pissed off Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton were at the end of that.
Oh yeah, little Toto Wolf saying was it Michael? That's not fair after the
Yeah,
race in the
yeah.
garage. Yeah, he was
hmm
getting mad. He was about to rip some words at him. He was not happy.
And just watching Mercedes flounder this year, just nothing makes me happier.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Maybe we should go over a little bit of what's happened thus far before we go into Baku. Just a little bit of background. I think I could maybe cover that. Start off with Bahrain. Ferrari looking strong. Preseason it
Very
was hard to
strong.
tell. Yeah, very strong because I mean, right? This is a new era Formula One. Me also, I guess I didn't go to my backstory. This is my first season watching. After watching the Netflix documentary series, kind of played up a little bit. But, going into it, no one knew who was going to be on top. People assumed Mercedes or Red Bull. And then Ferrari came
Out
out
of
swinging.
nowhere, dude.
I mean, it was because didn't they kind of bail on their 2021 season like halfway through? They were like, we're just going to
Yeah.
focus on, yeah, they focused on the future. And it paid out at first. Charles Leclerc won two out of the first three races, Bahrain and
Crazy,
Melbourne.
crazy.
It was
Yep.
crazy. He's showed so far he's a great qualifier, but unfortunately, Ferrari they fumbled the bag quite often in these races we're coming to see. It's kind of becoming the plot line of the season, I'd say. Would you guys agree?
Yep.
I mean, that kind of ties into that statistic we can bring up, where it's that what is it? Max Verstappen has won more races from Leclerc's pole position than his own.
That is interesting to bring up. And that's crazy. That's just because I mean, generally I being my first season, I always assume when I was seeing Leclerc get poles at first, I'm like, oh shit, pole almost always, you're first, second, basically every time.
Yeah.
Um, but then seeing like I come to learn that the Ferrari car has and the team on if we're talking Monte Carlo, not Monte, yeah, Monte Carlo, they've been imploding a little bit. So unfortunate. And I guess that's a great tie into Baku, actually.
This kind of also in the first couple races, it was like, oh, are we seeing is Red Bull going to just drop off with their reliability issues? I mean, we talk about in the first three races of the season, Verstappen, two DNFs, Perez obviously a DNF also in the first race. But did you guys see that at some point that Ferrari is just going to take this championship away from Red Bull?
I mean, right? It's like I saw basically every comment. I always read the YouTube comments after the highlights on the Formula One channel. They're always saying, "Oh, you can't count anyone out. People are still in it." Because like when you look at the calendar, right, we're only like what, like a third through, maybe even a
Yeah.
little less. So I was thinking like things can change, but I was happy because like going into the season, I was watching some YouTubers. They're like Leclerc, he's a monster behind the wheel. He's a beast. Ferrari, like they've been putting time in. They were saying they were kind of a sleeper pick. I'm like, I'm down with Ferrari. I'm a little Italian, love the team. So yeah, but then I was happy at first, but yeah, definitely didn't get my hopes up, and I'm happy that I didn't, go all in thinking they were gonna win because Red Bull's kind of giving them the hands right now.
But before we go over the Baku GP, can we talk about Wes? Let me ask you a question. Any specific team or driver that you favorite towards?
I mean, of course, I was loving Max Verstappen when he was the underdog against Lewis Hamilton. But now I'm leaning more towards Alpine right now. I like Ocon, and
Ocon.
I also like Lando
Ooh.
Norris. I like seeing McLaren getting their hands up in the top 10 now.
Yeah, no, they're clawing their way back because last season were they the third place team, right?
Yeah, McLaren.
Behind,
Yep.
yeah, and now they start off rough, but Lando Norris, he has some drives, and he's got that drive in him. Ricardo,
Yeah.
on the other hand, he's
Oh
having a rough go
yeah.
of things.
Let's talk about that a
Having a
little
rough.
later.
But this weekend, Ricardo with some
Yeah,
amazing
no,
driving, going up. How many places was that?
I think it was four. I think it was 12th to
Crazy,
8th.
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little more with the race. But anyone else have any sort of thoughts before going into Baku? More you want to cover from the race so far, thus far, beforehand? Maybe some storylines, some anything
I
like
don't know.
that.
I feel like
Not
we've just
really.
been kind of leading into Baku, if anything. Like we're ready. We're just like edging into Baku, you know?
Yeah, I can
As
feel that edge coming.
as Wesley said, I mean, Ocon being a great driver and starting to pick up the pace, I feel like his teammate Fernando Alonso in Alpine is getting the best he can out of that car heading into Baku. I mean, he in the first two
Oh,
practices he finished top 5.
and he looked great. He outperformed Ocon heavily in the qualifiers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's excuse me. It's been interesting so far because I feel like Ocon, I mean not Ocon, sorry, his teammate Fernando Alonso has almost had a bit of like a midfield version of the Leclerc effect, where a lot of times he looks kind of like a monster, either in the practices or in like qualifying. But then come race day, I feel like his results aren't showing as well. I don't actually have the numbers to kind of like look it over, but I feel like he's been out qualifying Ocon sometimes. But generally, when it comes
Yeah.
to race day, he's had a lot of bad luck. I think he's had
Yeah.
a good deal of crashes. Some I'm not sure if many of them are driver error or if it's just I think a lot of the times it's just getting tapped by someone. But he's been showing pace when it comes to quali. But we see that isn't everything this season, really.
He actually almost took pole position for in Melbourne, but he
Oh,
ended up
true.
crashing in turn 15 or turn 14, whatever it was, and it ended his running qualifying. But he's still
what a-
got it as a 40-year-old.
Yeah,
What
he
an
definitely
awful
does.
turn going from almost pole to just crashing and eliminating your chances in the race.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you hate to see that. Stroll. Let's get into Baku a little bit. Stroll, he had a little bit of a rough quali. I mean, he's kind of taken up
Yeah.
the mantle that Latifi at first was kind of, paving the way for. Just crash on crash. Is this the first time someone's crashed twice in a qualifying session?
I
mean-
think so. He kind of
And
saved
that was, like,
his
same
first
lap.
crash. Yeah, it was the same lap.
basically the same
Yeah.
lap. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy he did that. Now, like, I mean, you know what? You gotta admire though. He just had confidence going. He crashed once. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna
Surely.
go hard.
Yeah, he
Surely
did. He
I don't
did.
crash again.
Yeah, he did. But those street circuits, they're nasty. You got to watch out for that. You can see that a lot in qualifying when it comes to the like qualifying session 3. They get so close to that wall. I think it was Perez, Leclerc, and Verstappen. Maybe I think Sainz.
were
I
all
think
too.
Sainz had it. Sainz
They
had
were
it on his
tapping.
qualifying run too. Yeah.
They were
Yeah,
tapping the wall.
some of them were tapping. Some it was so close that the casters they couldn't even tell if it was a tap or not because you really
Yeah.
on those street circuits got to get right next to that wall. And the problem is since it's a street circuit, no runoff, so it's like if you go a little far, your car is just gonna get obliterated.
Yeah, you're crashed. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit unfortunate, but at the
But
end
what
of the day, I'm
What
sorry,
about that qualifier 3? Leclerc just turns up the heat. That was an insane performance from him out of
Yeah,
qualifiers.
dude, that run that he had to go 3/10 up on Perez and I believe 4/10 up on Max Verstappen that's just
In a-
crazy.
0.3 of a second is insane to just pull out. To just pull out of nowhere. Leclerc,
Yeah.
though, I feel like is becoming known for that this season. I think it's been around 2 or 3 races now. I know it was in the one that he ended up bombing later. I think it was which one was it? It might
It was
have
the
been
Spanish Grand Prix.
Yeah, it was where he came out of nowhere at the last second and then he took it and then obviously race day, things happen. But he's just getting so good at that last run. The last chance you get, he is just stealing these.
I don't
got-
think he
he's
I don't
a
think he got
closer.
a
He's a
toe.
closer.
I don't think he got a toe
is a
from his
closer.
teammate either.
No, he
Wow.
didn't, which is crazy because Perez was complaining that he didn't have a chance because he didn't have a toe, and then he also
Yeah.
said he probably still wouldn't have gotten it with one. And Leclerc, he's no toe, He's just going out. He's just battering that wind himself. He's got no one in front.
He's just
And,
porpoising all over the place.
well, that too.
Let's talk about that porpoising. We go into Mercedes here. They had that Spanish Grand Prix. They had a great drive from both drivers, but they come into Monaco, they come into Baku, and they're still having porpoising issues.
I think it was Toto Wolff saying, I saw in an interview before the qualifying session, that he thinks the porpoising, it's more of an issue when it's these street tracks, right? Because people are driving on this shit. You know, it's not not getting used a couple times a year for races or every couple weekends. It's not maintained at that level. So it's a bigger problem. And plus there's, so many street circuits. So I think that's a part of it, but it's rough. Did you guys see Hamilton after the race? He was struggling to get out of that car.
It looked like he was going to need help to get out of that damn car.
Yeah, no, it was a struggle for him. It was tough, but still on the comms, he was like, good shit, team. Good shit. Great calls this race. I'm loving the comms. And he was saying that while he was struggling to get out, so.
I'm looking at a picture of him right now. After the race, you could see him walking off the track, and he's like holding his lower back because of how much it hurts.
Does George Russell here become the number one driver for Mercedes this season?
He's been so consistent. I'm thinking like he might be the one.
I was thinking about it a bit, and I think you got to give Hamilton time because like Russell, right? You given his experience, he's just been on Williams, I believe, the whole time, right? So like, he hasn't really had this sort of front running time. And if you think about like these cars, probably, I'm not too much of an expert on it, but I'm assuming because it's new regulations, the cars they drive probably a good deal differently. It's a whole new learning curve. So all that experience Hamilton built up, winning all those championships, it's a new era, and he's got to get back on top of that. But needless to say, Russell, he's been a monster this season. Fourth now in that Mercedes.
Fourth, yep, and he's finished top 5 in every race this season so far.
Crazy.
So.
You know what? Actually, he's one of the only 3 drivers have finished every race so far, and he's one of the 3. Him, Hamilton, and I don't remember the third, but that's an interesting thing to point out because that also ties into. I don't know if you remember Seattle earlier in the season, the engine discussion that was going on. But everyone was saying, "Oh, Ferrari engine, it's looking good." Alfa Romeo and Haas they were doing work. All the Mercedes cars, their engines, they looked like dookie. They were running behind.
Oh, it was bad.
A little bit of unreliability, but I think that might have been more. I think that was more the Hondas, right, from the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
But they were just slower. But it's seeming now reliability. That's huge. I didn't realize going in this being my first season, but like seeing now that Mercedes, they're just finishing every race. They're getting but usually 4 and 5. And it's helping him out a lot. It's keeping him up. You don't
usually see Mercedes with any reliability issues. They've only DNF when either they've either crashed into somebody or they've got hit from behind or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah. That's interesting to note. I'm trying to think more about the race itself. We can talk a little bit. I guess we went over quali. I guess I could look back at maybe what some of the midfield like. I almost always tunnel vision on the front of the pack.
This week I believe AlphaTauri made some good improvements.
Oh my god, did you see that clip of during the race? The DRS? Is that, I think that's what
Yuki Tsunoda.
They were trying to tape it.
Yeah.
They were fucking putting duct tape to try and fix it.
Yeah, no,
I don't know,
crazy.
man.
I think he lost like 5 spots. Wasn't he in 8th before that or something around there? He was like in the
he was in 7th. He passed Vettel
really?
and Ocon. Yeah, it was Yuki Tsunoda, and he had to pit.
That sucks when you have to get your whole like spoil whatever it is, getting the DRS because I guess obviously if it's open half the time, that's not okay. So
did he still finish in the points?
Let me check real quick actually.
Because he didn't have DRS after that the whole race.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see here.
He finished 13th.
Yeah, no, he definitely did not finish in the points. That he got lapped at the end, but yeah, that's just unfortunate. But it seemed like a lot of this race was mostly people with the Ferrari engine struggling. Right, you got Magnussen, you got Joe Guan Yu, I think that's how you pronounce it, Leclerc and Sainz. They all
Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah. All the Ferrari engines look to be low on the leaderboard.
This was kind of a surprise because Valtteri was having a really good start to the season, and practice he was struggling. Qualifying he barely made it out of Q1. So
Yeah, no, I think I remember because the caster he was getting excited for a moment because he was about it. He was ready to pull out the statistic of how many races Valtteri Bottas
Yeah.
has finished outside of Q1, and he was like, "No,
Oh
wait, it's
yeah.
come to an end." And then he was like, "Oh wait, never mind. I'm trolling you guys." So that was funny to see. But yeah, I think the thing is right. It's just the teams that have more money and that are more experienced with pushing for like titles or being at the top of the grid. As the season goes on, they're just gonna naturally go to the top. You know what they say: the cream it naturally rises, you know. So
Didn't Williams
they're
just get fined for having or going over the budget cap though for upgrades?
yeah, I think so, but I think that's because recently, I mean, well, also Williams, you know, they're a bit of a,
It's
I mean,
insane that Williams got fined for that when they're getting last place of every race.
That's true.
yeah, you know what though, I have faith in Albon. I mean, Latifi, right? I think he might be a bit of a lost cause. Seeing a lot of the races, I just don't see how you're in for so long just flipping the switch at some point. But Albin, I mean, I think he's a pretty good driver. I think if he gets time and the team improves, he could do some.
I think Latifi and Lance Stroll, they need to. There should be some more rivalries between them because they're like the two paid drivers, and they're
Yeah.
both bad. But one of them should be trying to be like the best paid driver.
That is true. You do want to be the best paid driver. That'd be
It's
sick.
weird because in the 2020 season we saw Lance Stroll actually fighting and competing, and he was actually getting points. But these past two seasons, he's just having trouble with the car and trouble racing.
Yeah, it's crazy because the Aston Martin that used to be what was it called? It was Form. Wait,
It was.
it was
It
about- it
used
was
to
a,
be Force India. I forgot
yeah,
what it
Force
was called
India,
after that.
and they were one of the teams that go lower budget, and they were still putting up numbers. Like they were doing well,
Going
and now they got
crazy.
yeah, and now they got a bigger budget, and it's just like the car just isn't there. Like it's slightly better. I believe in
It's
like
a Red Bull.
Williams tier.
It's a Red Bull car. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. It's also oh yeah, they did get in that trouble. Was it 1 or 2 seasons ago now where they straight up just copied Mercedes
Yeah, they also copied Mercedes.
and
They
they
called it
them
the pink
Tracing Point?
Mercedes.
Yeah,
Tracing
no,
Point.
they
Oh, that's what it called. It was called Racing Point, wasn't it?
yeah, and they were just called Tracing Point because they just straight up stole the Mercedes from the prior year. But that was cool. Doing that. But yeah, I think it's
Respected
crazy
though.
to see him there. Expected, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's respectable. When you wanna mock the people who are having success, and
True,
if
I
you're willing to
guess.
win by any means, why not?
Yeah,
Although
I
maybe
mean,
you should try and get some insider info on like the current year's car instead of like going to the
It's
past.
funny though, cause they did have employees from Red Bull, who came to Aston Martin, and could have been the reason that they've copied Red Bull's design of the car.
yeah, I mean that's interesting, but I
I don't. I
guess
like that strategy. I like that.
I'm thinking about it. They did get away with it. Like they were fined an amount that really didn't amount to too much, I think. And
Yeah.
I think they were forced to change like one thing, but besides for that, it was like they were basically good with it. Like they got to keep the decisions they made. So it was, yeah, they managed to get away with it. So I mean, I guess props. I mean, looking at this season, they should have just. I mean, they couldn't have stolen this season. Maybe that's where the problem was with all new cars. Maybe that's where the issues came in.
Let's stick
But
with this Baku Grand Prix. I mean, in practice, throughout all the practice, Perez was faster, in qualifying faster. Verstappen is struggling a bit on the street circuits, and
Yeah.
he doesn't have it. He doesn't have qualifying pace, and we see it. I mean, even Leclerc is just out qualifying him this season. So Red
definitely.
Bull could, if Ferrari drops off here with Leclerc, does Red Bull now have a fight between two drivers?
Oh, that's tough to say. I mean, I think if Perez secures a couple more first places, I could see that, and Ferrari drops off. Like if all those pieces fit into the puzzle, I could see that happening. They just let him race at some point. But I guess it's a little scary when you still have a team close, because I mean, most of the time you do, I think, let him race out, right? Unless it's getting closer to the end of the season and you have a clear favorite. So yeah, I could see him just letting him race out, but I sure hope Ferrari, they manage to turn it around, maybe get a little bit more going on the race days, because like you said, Verstappen qualifying, I mean, at least these last two races, Monaco and then Baku hasn't looked great on quali pace, but race day, Verstappen just probably the best there is. He just always manages to find it.
There is one interesting thing I did see was that when both the Ferraris were out and it was just the two Red Bulls in the front of the pack, and Verstappen passed Perez, they gave the people gave like the engineers gave the call to Perez to not fight him, like to just let him take the
Really?
lead, which is interesting.
He did have a faster pace, and it ended up being, I believe, an 18-second gap to Perez. So I think he just had a faster pace than Perez. But it does suck seeing that, giving the race engineers to Perez is saying that there's no fighting here.
Well, I don't know. I'd expect because going into it, I thought when you're on a team, there's like why not try and help each other? But I guess when you're like a top level racer, like who gives a fuck about that? I'm the best racer out there. I'm just gonna get the first. I feel like
Yeah.
that's what goes through Verstappen's mind. But
Oh
like,
yeah,
what if
definitely.
Yeah.
why? I feel like there could just be like a greater potential if there was some sort of team play where you have like someone trying to block, slow down the
Oh,
competition while you get ahead.
that does tie in. I mean, you saw that a little bit. I think you might see it more at the end of the season sometimes, or I mean, it's like situational, but sometimes you'll see it. But yeah, it is an ego thing, and it's also that I mean, when I watch the Netflix show, I think they bring up this point like 1,000 times, where it's like, yeah, the two drivers, that's the only person that you can actually like objectively compare yourself to because you have the same exact package or like close enough to it. But I mean, it's obviously modified for you as a driver,
Yeah,
but like
it's the same
they're
like base car.
yeah, so you're just that person, whoever does better, is just basically the better driver for that season. So
Yeah.
it's most competitive with that because like it's someone else. You can always be like, oh, it's a car. They have a better car, But with your teammate, you just have to be a better driver than them. So it makes sense why people always want to prove themselves against their teammate.
Mhm.
But like you said, yeah, like at the end of last season, the last race, where you saw Russell lose, Verstappen. I mean, Perez held Hamilton behind for like I think was it like it was a while. Like he slowed down.
It was like almost 3 to 4 laps.
Yeah, he held back Hamilton hard for Verstappen to catch up. And yeah, I mean, you can see that. I mean, I'm sure team play probably comes in more maybe if you get to the point where it's like, okay, this person's clearly driver number one, and if they're fighting for a position, like to be higher up. So I guess we'll probably see that more later in the season.
Is Leclerc the driver number one for Ferrari?
I mean, I think right, Sainz still hasn't outqualified Leclerc yet this season, right?
No.
Yeah. No one's putting up the times like Leclerc is right now
So I think it's
from
like
Ferrari.
it's hard. I mean, this early, right? It's like I like to always give the benefit of the doubt. You can turn it around, but I mean, likely, yeah, Leclerc, I think in their mind is probably already number one. Plus, he's been there longer. He's had like a super long deal. I think he's done well by the team with what he's been given. So I think in their mind he's probably priority number one. Um, but yeah, so I was actually thinking about it because I saw after I remember Sainz was first in qualifying, and then Perez, Verstappen, and Leclerc all had like heater laps at the end that passed him.
Yeah.
And then Sainz was fourth. I'm like, oh, that sucks for Sainz. I was thinking about that, and then I saw it cuts to the Ferrari garage, and they're like celebrating, obviously because they got pole. But I was thinking like if it was reversed, right? You got Sainz first, and then Leclerc fourth. Do you think maybe the vibes aren't quite the same in the garage? Do you think maybe they're not as happy? I could see it. I could see it.
It's weird though
I
because
think
the
one.
strategists. Oh, go ahead, Wes. Go Wes.
No, you're good. You're good. You're saying the strategist.
It's weird because the Ferrari strategist Sainz was saying in Monaco that he didn't want to go on to the hard tires. And is there some sort of like internal like doubt that Leclerc isn't going to be the number one driver, or is it still too early in the season for that?
I don't know. I think honestly, Sainz, that was a great call in Monaco when like he didn't want when he whatever call, I don't remember what it was, but I think because they wanted to go in intermediates, but Sainz wanted to go straight to mediums, I think, right?
Yeah.
And that was such a good call because I think they did pit Leclerc maybe for intermediates or something. It was something weird where basically he got screwed, but whatever call Sainz made was the right one, and that's what Red Bull did just a couple laps later.
Yeah.
But yeah, that race was a tragedy. Was just
Just
oh my
another
god.
example of Ferrari, just getting the pole and just donating it to Red Bull, just giving it away for free.
Yeah, they're just giving it up. They're giving up first places left and right in the last like 3-4 races. It's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. It was tough to watch that, especially when they had Sainz pit and then they tried to bring in Leclerc right behind him. So I think there was a little delay waiting for him to leave, and then he got a slow
Yeah,
pit stop. That was crazy. I thought that whoever the strategist was, he must have been smoking. He must have been smoking a lot of marijuana or something. I don't know what was going on with him, but that was a crazy call.
definitely. Back
So
to you were saying, Wesley.
okay, well, first, is there any? Because I feel like we should spend some time talking about porpoising because I think there's a bunch of drivers meeting with the FIA to discuss it today. So I think it is worth talking, like spending at least some time talking about it. But is there anything else we want to talk about Baku first? Like, I feel like we've done a good job covering most of it.
Yeah, I guess we already brought up Ricardo a little bit. I'm happy that he finally had a drive where he managed to get a lot of overtakes. I feel like confidence builders like that can definitely help turn your season around and help you if you start getting comfortable. Vettel is also someone we got to point out. He has like a bottom tier car and he got sixth, so that was crazy. And then the only other person I'd say that super notable was Gasly getting fifth. I think
He's
he
had a rough
he's been
season, dude.
yeah, I don't think it's necessary. Like start of the season, right? First race, his engine goes or whatever it was. I don't remember if it was an engine problem. It might
Yeah,
be
I
something
think
else.
yeah, I think it was an engine.
Yeah, so like he's just had a rough. I think he's been tapped in like one or two races.
Damn.
Like he's just had a rough go of things, but like he's a very solid driver, and he had a good race. And also Monaco, he was going crazy. I think he got like two or three overtakes, I think, which is
Damn.
just insane for that circuit where like two people
There's
can
no
walk side
room.
by side. Yeah,
There's
Yeah.
no
it's
fucking room.
there isn't any. So that was crazy. But yeah, those were the main two: is Vettel and Gasly, and Ricardo. Those three, I think, all had pretty stellar races.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me. Yeah. Um. Yeah. No, I agree. I think you covered it all. I think what was it? There was someone who had a. See if I can find it. But there's someone who had a crazy amount of like overtakes that they had.
I
Fuck.
think Hamilton did during this race
He did. That's why
also.
he got driver of the day.
Where did he start at? He ended fifth, right?
Oh, it
No,
was
was it? Oh,
Schumacher.
He
fourth.
started
He went up
seven.
6 positions.
That's interesting. I think
And then Hamilton. Yeah, Hamilton started seventh and he got up to fourth.
yeah. Hamilton's had a lot of great overtaking this season. He's his he's almost had like a similar problem to Signs where like a lot of race starts have been rough for him and then the whole race is spent battling back to where he was. A lot of the times for
Yeah.
Signs though it's just straight DNFs. Like I think like a lot of them like he doesn't recover. Like there was one that Signs recovered to like where he started, but
I think it
like
was a
there's
Spanish
two.
Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was the one. But then you got like Hamilton. I was it also the Spanish Grand Prix where I think he had a rough start, but he clawed through so
Oh
many
yeah,
drivers.
Magnussen hit him, and
Yeah, he
he had
started like
a
last.
puncture. Yeah.
Yeah, but he worked so hard to get back up. So that was phenomenal. But yeah, a lot of it's been nice seeing a lot of overtaking. So Seattle, you've watched previous seasons, so like I can't compare because this is my first one. So like compared to the past, how has this season been for like overtaking and for kind of like aggressively driving? Because I know in the past we were saying too
It's
much dirty air, you can't overtake, you can't follow well. Is that changed in your eyes?
I think it's changed, and then I think it's a lot easier to defend. So you're starting to see a lot more of like the defense is just there because the tires have changed. They've gone from 16 to 18s, and I think it's become a little bit more aggressive when you're coming on 18 inches wheels, and the car's a little wider than usual. But
Yeah.
it's definitely more exciting than what it was because when you see someone just pass in like the previous seasons, it's kind of just like, oh, it's kind of narrow compared to this season,
Yeah.
where it's more wheel to wheel, I'd say.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that ties into why Red Bull's doing so well is because their strength, I feel like, really ties into the power of overtaking this season. So I feel like the car was designed well in that respect. Like Ferrari, obviously, I think they're better qualifying because they're better when it comes to turns and stuff like that. But on the straights, Red Bull, I think I heard him say during this quali that they're like 8 kilometers an hour faster.
Damn.
Yeah.
So that's pretty insane, right? Because it makes it a lot easier if you're behind. If you get within DRS, right, and you're a Red Bull, you're coming up on the Ferrari. We've seen it multiple times now. We just see Verstappen; he's flying by Leclerc. So it's just
Effortless.
You
Just
could
the
say
effort.
effortless. Yeah, it looks like he's putting in little. He looks like he's doing it blind. Really, he's closing his eyes. He's So I mean, I think that's pretty incredible to see a lot of, and I think that also goes to show Red Bull. They really kind of put the work in where it was needed for this new generation of car.
Let's also talk about Ferrari's design of the car, though. I mean,
Oh
you
yeah,
saw in Baku. I don't know if you watched practice 3, but the casters were talking about it. How in sectors 2 and 3, I believe, or sectors 1 and 2, I believe Ferrari was just setting purple sectors, and then
yeah,
obviously in this last sector, Red Bull had it because of that main straight.
yeah. The
So
straight is massive on this track.
so I mean, Ferraris. I think the vision is there for Ferrari. It's because they're way faster on turns, like compared to Red
Yeah.
Bull.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I mean, their whole strategy going in, I think, is like Leclerc's just got to get away. Like he's just got to get away on the start and ride off into the sunset. Like he's got
You
to.
saw it
If
in Spain.
I think yeah. Oh yeah, before the car imploded. And then you also saw in Australia, like he was playing, he was racing solo that day.
Yeah.
There in Australia, he was like going for a leisurely stroll. There wasn't no one else near him, and I think that's their vision. That's what they want for races. And I feel like Leclerc has set them up a couple times recently for that. And then like this race, obviously rough start with the lockup. That's unfortunate. Don't want to do that. And then like other ones, engine problems. Also still an engine problem this race on top of that. But
Well,
yeah, it's just different game plans.
I also feel like that kind of game plan is kind of it's gonna be dependent on the track, where it's like in Baku, where there's this long ass straightaway where Red Bull is just gonna be going crazy speeds and Ferrari can't really match them. It's just gonna be a consistent time loss when they get to that portion of the track. So it'll be interesting to see when we get into some of the more curvy tracks how the Ferrari car is able to maintain their lead over the Red Bulls, where they can't
Yeah.
really go all out.
Oh, definitely. I think that's what they're really looking for. That's what really is their comfort zone. And I think I wish I knew the races to come a little better to know whose hands it's going to plan to play into better. But this is very much still anyone's season out of I want to say a top four, but mostly I mean Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz maybe, but mostly those top three.
I
I
think
think
George Russell's eking into there, so
he's consistent. He's constantly getting points, but like I don't know. I don't know how much development takes place over the course of a season. I don't know, Seattle, if you've seen a lot in the past where like a team just kind of shoots up.
not so much.
But
It's not a lot of
Yeah.
development.
I'd be
the
shocked if Mercedes can get their car much faster than what it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now it is just like a bobblehead simulator for them in that shit box. So
Yeah,
it's
let's
kind of
let's
tough.
let's go back to the porpoising here.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Wes was trying to touch on that. Yeah, about you said that the drivers were going to talk to FIA. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
they're meeting with the FIA to try and discuss it. And
What
then
is what is like the angle the drivers want out of this?
So
Like what?
I wonder if it's because the FIA took out a suspension thing about porpoising, or like something about the suspension. They took out something about it that makes it a little difficult for the drivers. That's why you're seeing a lot more porpoising issues
Okay.
than normal.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. I feel like right, so like the ultimate solution is always higher ride height, less porpoising, but then the issue there, right, is less speed and less kind of control because you have less downforce, which these new cars are completely designed around the downforce between the car, and the track.
Yeah.
So I guess yeah, it's tough. I mean, I don't really know. I guess I'm just in whatever makes for the best viewer experience is kind of what I'm about. So I mean, I don't know what's gonna help that the most, but I guess if drivers feel it's necessary to maybe kind of get something in place so there's less porpoising, I'm fine with that. Whatever is necessary.
talking about the viewer experience, whenever, on the broadcast, when they switch to that driver cam and we're just seeing that camera shake all over the place because the fucking drivers can't keep their head straight from everything.
It
If we're talking
sucks.
viewer experience, that sucks to watch.
Yeah, no, it definitely looks undrivable. Like I remember Russell, I saw there was a little interview on ESPN. I checked on my phone. I saw he was talking about how it's pretty undrivable, right? Because you're driving a car, you're going like close to 200 down these straights, and you got to gauge like the braking zone, and your like head's bouncing around, and like you got to be pretty quick on it because things are coming up fast when you're going that fast. So it's like
Yeah.
it's pretty tough, right? When you don't have that field of vision. I think I've seen also. Oh, what was I was watching a video. I think it was like Hamilton like changed places with like this is kind of off topic, but it was like with like the one of the guys that's like a legend in like the
Oh, the
motorcycle
MotoGP,
GP.
yeah.
Yeah, and he was talking about, is like, the thing that surprised me the most was like how like little you see in the car or something. I believe is like a line he said, which that makes sense. Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe we should go on now, right? We've covered a little bit about the preseason. I mean, not preseason, sorry. Pre Baku. We covered Baku, kind of like the race for us, how we felt about it. Maybe we go in a little bit to going forward. Next is Montreal, right? Canada. So maybe we talk a little bit about where we're gonna go next and maybe what we think coming
Here,
up
let me
maybe the
set here.
next
I'll send a
race.
picture. I'm looking at the track for that right now. I'll send you
Not a
guys a
lot of
picture.
not a lot of experience for Max and Leclerc there.
This is looking concerning for Red Bull, or sorry, yes, for Ferrari, because this looks like a lot of straights and not many curvy
Yeah.
sections of the track. So this looks like the early, my prediction will be that uh we're gonna see Max Verstappen get pole position. That's my prediction here.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of room to build up speed here, is what
This looks
I'm
like he
seeing
can
from
go
this
all
track.
out in so many sections of this.
Yeah. I could totally see that, but yeah, no. I'm just with you. I see Verstappen or Perez really doing work on this track.
Is this could this be a Red Bull front row lockout?
I could see that. Yeah, I could.
I have a hard time, calling that just because of how much variation and crashes and car issues there are.
Yeah.
But I say for sure we see one Red Bull in the top two.
Oh, most
I,
definitely.
I just feel
But
like Leclerc has just qualifying pace, man. No, he's gonna find it in qualifying.
yeah, no, he is a monster when it comes to qualifying. So like, I would never count him out because he's just capable of finding those couple of feet closer to the wall or a couple of inches, whatever you want to say, on like every turn. So I Leclerc just kind of has that quality magic, but I think even so, right? Like if Leclerc, even if he gets pole, right, I'm still saying I think this goes to Verstappen. Like I'm almost gonna call it. I just think
Damn.
he's such a monster on race day. I don't know personally what the difference could be, why the race pace is so great for Red Bull. I think I've heard Ferrari previously. I mean, now, right, we see it's just reliance issues,
Could
but in
it could
race
it just be
strategy,
saving? Could they just be saving? Let's say maybe their Red Bull's qualifying pace isn't there, but could they just be saving all of that energy just for race day? Because they know
um,
that they can overtake Ferrari.
I don't know. I just think it's when you're really cutting, like, because right, it comes down to like milliseconds or like tenths of a second on quali, and I think Ferrari with their strength in the corners, I think they can just find that with how good Leclerc is at cutting as close as he can. But like, it's just also not a stress for Red Bull because now the narrative seems to be it's like, okay, well, when race day comes, either they're gonna have reliance problems recently, bad calls, or like we're just gonna overtake because like we're just better on race day. Like Verstappen's just a monster when it comes to his pace, and I guess maybe he just manages to find more time, maybe drive like with a little bit more aggressiveness on race day than some of the other drivers are capable of doing comfortably.
Yeah, because that's
I
where
feel like
it's all in.
I
Yeah,
feel like Red Bull isn't fully content with that though. I feel like they want to be the ones who are kind of dominating, and it just
I
doesn't
see.
feel right for them to just be losing every. Because I feel like there's something to the qualifiers that kind of show off the true performance of the car,
Yeah, I
because
get
you're
that.
not as clumped up, and there's a lot of things that happen in races to affect your timing. So I
Yeah,
feel like the Red Bulls or the people at Red Bull just Verstappen included probably aren't fully happy that they just get dominated every qualifiers of the race.
I could
So
totally see that.
No,
out of
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
I could see
Max
him.
was pissed off in Monaco. He told his race engineer that next year it's gonna be different.
Yeah, I mean that's the hunger, that's the drive you want and expect from like a top level talent in the sport, But I also think it's like I think maybe right. You ideally they wanted to be in the form they were in. What was it? I think it was 2012 to 2014 with Vettel, where basically Vettel would qualify first for them, and then he would just drive away, and like he was just faster than everyone, and their car was just insane. So like I think that's ideally what every team probably wants, and that's probably
Yeah,
what
that's
they're
the
like
dream.
striving for. That is the dream, but. I guess we'll see over the course of the season if they manage to get that vision realized, or if Ferrari will kind of bite back here now that they're slumping.
Yeah, what's your prediction for for the next race? Because Dalton and I already said what we're thinking for the Canadian GP. What are you thinking about?
I still think Leclerc just gets pole here, regardless of how fast Red Bull is on the straights. Leclerc's got some magic in that car.
I could see it. I could see it. Yeah, I guess my prediction, I'll do a, oh, this is gonna be easy because it's hard once you go down. Maybe I'll do like a top 6 prediction. I predict, oh, it's tough though, because like Ferrari, the reliance could be a problem. I predict Verstappen first, Leclerc second, Perez third. I'm gonna and then Sainz fourth, and then Russell and Hamilton. Like that's a classic. I think that's how basically the season's been. But I think I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that.
I don't know, man. I agree with your top four, or your top. I agree with your top three, but I think we're gonna see an AlphaTauri sneaking in the top five there, or maybe even
Really?
an Aston Martin
Ooh.
top six.
Aston Martin Vettel. Maybe he does some work.
And then I'm always rooting for my boys at Alpine. You know, I'd love to see them sneak in.
You
So
want
we'll
to see those
see.
midfielders. You want to see them
I want
really
to
bite
see
back.
the people at Red Bull and Ferrari and Mercedes shaken because they know that, you know, even people at Williams are starting to catch up and they're losing their leads, you know, just something like that.
That would be
Although that's
fun.
unrealistic as hell, but you know
No, that
what
would
I'm
be a
getting
cool
at.
narrative to get to, but yeah, it's just right now it's top 4 cars. They're the top. I mean, the top 2 constructors are on a different level. The closest, like the in between, is Mercedes, and then behind them is like, it's just every other team. They're in DRS trains. They're all piled up like it's traffic on coming home from work on like a Friday or something.
And could that have been due to Fernando Alonso there?
Yeah,
I feel like he's held up a lot of drivers this whole season.
I think that's intentional though. I think he's doing it on purpose.
He's getting in their head. He's like, I'm just gonna keep you behind me. Most famous one this season though was Gasly keeping Hamilton behind him for like 40 laps or something. Hamilton could not pass that man.
Dude, the Emilia Romagna race was a pretty good race to watch.
Yeah, I love seeing the jokes afterwards. Like it was just all about how Hamilton couldn't pass Gasly. It was like 40 laps of him just sitting behind.
It doesn't
That's
help how your
classic.
former teammate Nico Rosberg was like, for the 20th time, here you see Lewis Hamilton tries to sneak past Pierre Gasly.
Rosberg, he had the dream where he lost to Hamilton. What was it like? I think Hamilton won like three seasons in a row, and then won the championship, and then you had Rosberg sneak in one win and then immediately retired. That was sick. That's the way to go. You go out on top.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now he can talk shit. He's pretty much talking shit about Lewis Hamilton, pretty much.
I respect
he can
it.
do that.
You know, we're all certified Lewis Hamilton haters, and if you aren't, you're being labeled as that right now.
Well,
Okay,
well, hold on.
I mean, he's a driver. I'm kind of about it. I think I want to see him have this season get worse for him, and then I want to see like a redemption arc in the future. You know?
No, I want him going down.
You
I want
don't
him
wanna-
and Ricardo battling for 15th every race.
Oh man, the old men in the back, senile, washed. They're going at it. I want to see a redemption arc. I love a redemption arc as much as I love an underdog. So I think I like to see him put up, but I also like that Russell's doing well. I like the new generation. You got Lando Norris, you got Leclerc, you got Russell. They're all they're rising to the top. And Verstappen, how can I forget? And they're kind of taking over right now. So it's nice to see young drivers. They're going out there.
We're going into the 9th race of the season. You start to think about drivers here. I mean, talk about Haas.
Think about drivers as in like
for seats.
Oh, seats. Oh, yeah. I guess I feel like you give like half the season, like, right? Isn't there a summer break? I think you give till then. And then from there, maybe that's when you start kind of making moves. You start thinking, do we pull up a young guy? Do we think he could do better? Is it Latifi's time to finally, hang up the wheel? Maybe
it's time for Guan Yu to hang up the wheel after his past performances.
Well, I mean, okay,
that's not his fault. It's all I think he's had 3 DNFs because of or like 4 or 5 DNFs due to engine related problems.
Yeah. I mean, it's been It's been rough for him, especially since like these are the races he needs under his belt because it's his rookie season. So like these races are important because you want to have experience going in because like that's what helps you keep your seat, right? It's not nobody has experience in a Formula One car, right? So like getting a couple years under your belt of like I know how to handle one of these cars and I can do it without crashing, and I can put up results. That's great. That makes you invaluable and keeps you kind of in the scene. So I don't know. Like if you have a rough season where you don't put up anything, it makes it a lot easier probably to just kind of kick you out.
Yeah, speaking of that, with experience under their belt, let's talk about Mick Schumacher, who's had a couple seasons under his belt already, and he's still. It doesn't seem like he's comfortable in it.
Well, he still hasn't gotten points, has he?
I don't think so. He's finished. He's finished top 10, or he's qualified into top 10, and he's just thrown the race out the way.
No, I remember it's been like 2 times now where they're like, and Schumacher is top 10, and then like you look a second later, and it's like I think one time he tried to go for an overtake when he was in a comfortable 10th, and he crashed, I think, and he was last then. And then another time, I think he just like got overtaken. It's been like rough. I don't know. It's tough. Wait, was last season his rookie season when he was with Mazepin?
Oh, you're right. Is it? Was it? Yeah.
Because they had 2 rookies last season.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
I guess so. That doesn't even count as a comparison because like I could probably hop behind the wheel and I'm putting up Mazepin numbers. I'm doing similar work out there on the track. I'm a danger to everyone else, just like Mazepin was, right? But so that's one's like it's just tough. He just doesn't have a lot of data. But I think K-Mag is kind of outperforming him, right? But recently they've been slumping too. Yeah, it's crazy
K-Mag's
he came back from
K-Mag.
IndyCar. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that he managed to come back, but I mean, I'd love to see Haas do well, NA team, got to represent, which they haven't been. It's kind of a disaster for them most of the time. This season's not too bad though. But also, speaking of which, I think it's Mario Andretti's trying to get a spot.
How old is he?
Well, not as a driver, like as like a team. Like he wants to have like a team under his belt. I think. His reaction is probably like 30 seconds.
I don't know. Him, Lance Stroll, and Latifi might go at it on the track though. We'll see.
Yeah, no.
This speaking of
Ricardo,
which,
they're similar ages.
Speaking of of teams, a Porsche and Audi are set to join for next year.
Really?
So
is the grid just expanding? Are there just?
I don't think. I believe Porsche what they said. Porsche said they wanted to buy Red Bull, but they don't want Verstappen as their driver. They want a German driver.
Huh.
That's the latest I've ever heard. From what I heard, I believe Audi should be taking over. I think Audi might be taking over Aston Martin, if I'm not mistaken.
That could make sense. That makes sense.
But that's all of the latest I've heard for teams and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that all sounds all right. Yeah, but I mean, it'll be exciting, definitely. It'll also be my first time seeing roster swaps and kind of seeing like who goes where the driver seats end up, who gets cut, I feel like, it's kind of interesting trying to see people scramble for seats, because you don't want to end up, it's kind of like a game of musical chairs, you don't want to end up without a chair. Everyone wants to end up with a spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it'll be interesting to see that all play out. But I mean, we got a long way to go, after Montreal, where I made my 100% correct predictions of what's going to happen.
All right, is that it? Is there anything else?
I think we really covered a lot today.
How many minutes we at, Seattle?
We are at 48, so that's just perfect for a good first episode.
F1.
We'll see. We can update. We'll see what happens with the porpoising as next week comes up.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, also, I mean, it's gonna be great, following race to race now, being able to kind of get into it. I kind of enjoy that.
Before we go, so the episodes will be, I believe 2 races behind, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, actually, it won't even. It'll be a race or 2 races behind, just depending on where the races land. Just because it will release on a Monday, so it could be a race behind or 2 races behind.
Okay, sounds good.
And get them where you get all your podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud.
We're hitting them all up.
We're everywhere.
On
We're
YouTube.
global.
We're gonna have
our Patreon.
Yeah, sub to the Patreon. I mean, you'll probably see
Follow the
our
F1 Cast Twitter,
yeah,
Instagram,
we be
Facebook.
posting hella memes. Check, we'll probably have a billboard Times Square.
We'll get a
Yeah.
Discord going too.
Yeah.
Discord for the fans.
But Discord will be only to Patreons. Patreon
Yeah, no,
exclusive.
for sure. We only want the dedicateds, and they're the real ones. I think. Yeah, no, it's gonna be good. It's gonna really. I think this is really gonna grow, and there's gonna be a lot to talk about. As
Maybe
time
an
goes on.
OnlyFans in the works. We'll see.
Yeah, a little bit of some special cameras for some of the pods. I think maybe sometimes we can pull in some special guests. I might be able to pull Leclerc. We're tight.
We'll see. I mean, with the name as official as the F1 Cast, I feel like there's a lot we got
Yeah, I
in the
mean,
works.
I know if a driver's getting messaged by the F1 cast, they're hopping in. They want to chat it up, let us know.
Oh,
how
without
they
a
see
But
it.
doubt.
TT might even
without a
pay
doubt.
us to get it.
God, yeah, no, that'd be great. I'd love that. All right, well, I think this is a great first episode.
This is us signing off, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
Yeah.